When we were standing there about his, I guess, his, all of his votes. Yeah, some of his votes that are less than they should be. And I found that interesting. That the speaker took on a sitting congressman with some of his voting record.
And if you will, Tree was there.
Oh, he was there?
He was there. He was in the audience. First, I thought the guy was actually going to be introducing him to come up and speak.
Yeah, because he called his name.
Yeah, he called his name. And what he basically did was said that here's a guy who's in Congress. He's essentially voted on any number of things, including bombs, money to support the military and bombs, and so on. Went down a whole list of things, and essentially created a moment, I would think, for him, assuming that he is thinking reasonably, to kind of second guess the kind of conduct that he was after. But I'm not so sure that those are the kinds of things that necessarily going to push a guy like that to change his mind. He's there for another reason.
Hey, what's your name?
I'm sorry.
Simon.
Oh, Simon. Oh, I didn't recognize you. I'm sorry. 60 years.
Outside the voice. Yep, I have a couple of comments. But I think the most important thing, of the things that we need to talk about is that I think we need to put all of our ideas on the table and then come up with one or two initiatives that we want to attack. As Taylor said, the speakers yesterday were kind of widespread and we need to really kind of develop some sort of focus. And so I'd love to hear what other ideas I appreciate your ideas. I'd love to hear some of the other ideas. One of the ideas that I have that I'm interested in, I think that right now Detroit has a layer of insulation from Trump and his agenda because we have a white mayor in place.
Right.
And I think after November 4th, that's going to change. And I think just like other large black democratic cities, people will be like, oh, he's in the National Guard, he's beginning sending troops there. And I'd really like to see us do something proactively to make that not be a possibility. And so I know that we used to have a school, we don't anymore. The idea I'm thinking of is adopting a school and doing something with young boys to make sure that they understand that they've got opportunities, to make sure that we provide them opportunities to learn, to stay at school, so that they can do something. Because I get it, we all have energy and we all have passion, we want to do some things, but let's face it, most of us in here are over 40, right? And we're older, we're tired. Things don't look like they used to, right? And so movements are really done and impacted by young people. And when we talk about changing people's minds, we need to get them early. This is not a one solution issue. This is a very to address this problem. It's going to take a holistic approach, and we need to begin to get those young people where they are before they grow up to not have anything in their brains. That's my suggestion.
Most people don't realize that we can sue federal employees. Most people do not realize that we can sue federal employees that violates our rights through the lower courts. The lower courts, they can't run. They have to follow the lower court's rules. But if you do it in the federal courts, they're able to say they're immune to any kind of arguments or any kind of defense against them. And I'm thinking that might be one of the options that we can use. Can everybody hear me? Yeah, this is the outside voice. Also, I spoke to a lot of the young men and young women over at Wayne State University. And I told them about the program that we have. And I told them about the needs that we spoke about last meeting. And they're very interested in that. A few of them said they would come today, they would show. But if we keep working with our youth, we need to get our youth taught, because they also being cheated out of an education. And again, I mentioned this in church, that ICE, or so-called masked men, was on Wayne State University, all packed with guns and equipment, intimidating our youth. They trying to steal our youth away from us. We need to get them back. And the only way we can do that is through a venue like this. The church always been a part of freedom. A church always been a part of protecting our community. And we are the beginning. And one more thing, I think we need more than one meeting a month. Because if ICE is on the property of Wayne State, he's going to be in our community next. This is the second protest or riot that I've seen in my lifetime. And the first one, they didn't protect or try to honor our rights. And this whole administration will not do it either. I hope it helped.
So you're saying we need to start with the churches in our communities to step in, and the young people at our schools or colleges to step in, and the ones that we make an impact on out there in society, we need to take their name and number down so we can give them a reminder call. Because a lot of the kids, there's so much in their head, they be busy and they might forget that about this meeting. So if we take their names and numbers down and then give them a reminder call, like the day before or something, take that down, and then reminder call, if we have reminder calls in a group to call people and let them know about this. Because everybody, like you said, been left out. They don't know about this. They do know about it. They just forgot. You know, mind is a great thing. God made our minds and our bodies to think. But we got so much going on our plate. There's so much going on. We simply just missed the bus. You know,
okay, but she was next.
So that's just a reminder.
I'd just like to say a couple of things. One, that I did attend rally yesterday, and I think that there's more than one way for us to show that our dissatisfaction with what's going on in our country. And I think the rally was amazing thing that you see those people, for the 7 million, that somebody in Washington, even though he says he doesn't watch TV or whatever, that he was aware that there are people in this country who are not satisfied with what's going on. I'm glad that we're having this meeting, and but I'm glad we're having it because justice is an important part for all of us, whether you're white, black, or whatever. And so it's something that we need to talk about, to discuss more than one way that we could help, but we need to make a decision of what can we as Plymouth Church do. For example, today I came in and I wanted to, most of us are aware that Carolyn Cheeks Kilpatrick is being memorialized as the museum coming up. And I was told that Bethel has provided and has offered their parking lot for people who are visiting to pay the parking. I asked Reverend Hood if we were going to do the same thing. He said we could. But I'm saying we need to get the word out. I think communication is an important thing that does not happen in our community. I call many people to attend rally, and some did. But again, we need to get information out. Not having information, it could be the downfall of us. Because everybody doesn't watch the news like some of us do. Or that's, you know what I'm saying, or not in organizations that are doing things. So we need to get the word out. Plymouth, when I came 40 years ago, was very active, and I don't know if being a judge can tell us. Is it that they cannot be involved in politics? Because now, what I'm saying, kind of like we need as a church, Plymouth is a church that stands for justice. Plymouth is a church where you're going to have something happening. So we need to get together, I mean, this small group, but about the rest of us, how are we going to get the word out? That's one thing, whatever we come up with, getting information out to those key people is important.
Yesterday with the march, they sent me a link, a text, and once I registered on the text, I got numerous links in terms of information. Most of the information yesterday was disseminated in those text messages. And so that is not necessarily how we in our generation communicate, but that is how the young people communicate.
And we were asked to spread that word to other people too, and so most of us did. You know, again, getting the information out.
But yeah, it was a group called, what was the group called?
There were 3 groups there.
Indivisible, there's
Indivisible. I think Indivisible was the lead group on a lot of the electronic communication.
But again, getting information out, if you can't chat, if you don't know what's going on. Somebody say today that I talked to didn't even know that Carol Cheeks was going to be lying to say that.
Yeah, not by me.
You know what I'm saying? So we got to get information out. So if you don't have information, you can't act.
Communication is key.
I was at the No Kings rally in Ypsilanti yesterday, and I'm happy to say there were a lot of young people there.
Yes.
And there were a lot of LGBTQ people there too. And I can tell you from my experience in NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, that there's a crisis right now in the mental health of young people. And so for Plymouth to recognize that and to become an open and affirming congregation, I think would send a very strong message to the community, all communities, that you are welcome here. And if you have more people attending your church that feel welcome and feel accepted and feel like their voice will be heard, then you'll have more people to act in the social justice, actions that need to be done in the church. So luckily, the United Church of Christ, the national church, has a process for this that we can subscribe to. I think I sent the link to everybody. It was on the email list yesterday. And it's a fairly long process, but it is not only for LGBTQ people, it's for everybody that feels marginalized. And so it could be a foundation that we build and a way to simplify our social justice actions of the church.
So in other words, connecting everybody those churches.
Right, because if you look through the process, they have an outline of it. You have to involve the whole church, and what it does is the end product is a covenant. It's a covenant that the whole church participates in and gets renewed every year that says, we are an open and affirming congregation. And what that means is that if you want young people to come to your church, they're going to go online and they're going to look under UCC and they're going to say, okay, which churches are open and affirming? I'm going to go to that one. So that's a process that's already in place. Jerome was talking about the larger Metro Detroit group that is talking about organizing under voting rights.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of things already available to us.
I have comments about virtually everything said. Some of it was mentioned last week, and other things strike me today. But I'll save some of those for later. There was some other.
Yeah. Okay, we all heard ISIS here, ISIS coming, right? ISIS a mile away, ISIS. I think we got to, I would like our group to react and respond, have a plan, do something. I want to argue strongly against discounting ourselves as older people. We are very photogenic in arrests. We are the most photogenic. And this is my last sentence when my son said, Mom, be careful, we don't want to lose you. I said, look, you got kids, I'm the disposable one. You grew up well, I love you. But we are photogenic-wise and able, don't say, and I think, okay. But I can't believe we're talking about anything else other than an early sign that ISIS is here. And they've been other places.
We need to get a handle on exactly how ICE is here. Because when I went behind that to see how ICE was being sponsored, they're not being sponsored by the Detroit Police Department. They're being sponsored by a suburban police department.
Which suburban?
I want to say, I think it's the city of Taylor. They've been here for several months.
Yes. And
several months, but they're not being sponsored by Detroit Police. The Detroit Police refused. But the suburban, and I want to say, I think it was Taylor. So it would be good to know how that came about, how it's being structured, how they're being really arrayed against us. Because that tells me one thing, Detroit police are not part of what ICE is doing. And Detroit already has established that it is opposed to what ICE is doing. So we need to know exactly how that relationship has been structured, you know, because that will tell us some of what we can and cannot do, you know, in dealing with ICE.
And as a committee, we could meet with Detroit Police like this week and say, consider, where are you? What are you telling?
Yeah, what are you going to do?
And yeah, I did that with them.
Well, I'm saying we can say that to Detroit Police.
No, but that's a really good thing for a church committee
Yeah,
to do.
what are you going to do?
And are you going to be in between them and us?
Yeah,
and
but as this crisis progresses, what will your role be?
I think it's also important, yes, to have that conversation with the city of Detroit Police, but then we also need to advertise or publish or issue the results of those conversations.
That's
because
true.
if it's Taylor that's supporting this, then the community needs to know it's Taylor that yelled that too.
Well, I think the ICE issue is one that could get a lot of publicity, and it would be good for us as a growing entity if that's something we oppose. And we got out there real early, and maybe we're the first ones to do it. One thing, I've been attending the sort of regional meetings of the United Church of Christ. I think it's more churches in southeastern Michigan, maybe. And there are 37 different entities. And that committee, their social justice committee, meets once a month. And they have a small budget. But I think it would be important if we want to do something, like we want to take on this ICE and just let it be known they're not welcome in this Detroit community. I think it would be good if we contacted all 37 of these entities and see how many are with us, and could a joint statement be put out? Maybe we're the leaders in it, but we got a little more power if we got all these entities behind us. But I do think this is one issue that you hit on that we could probably do. We can get out there maybe as the first ones out there, and it's important, and no one wants to see it. And I agree totally with Sonia. Once the mayor changes, they will be all over us about this. So we don't have much time to do it, but that is one action I think we could accomplish. Michael, you can
one of the things we talked about the marketing, what I've done is I made a commitment. Jason, I don't know if any of you know this, Jason, the young man who streams our service, is streaming this meeting right now. So this meeting is being streamed, and all our meetings will be streamed. We'll be committed to that. We've also taken a commitment from Red Grant. I don't know if any of you in the church know Red, his son and daughter participate as our accolade. He's someone that got skills in the media, and he's committed to help us get on other platforms so that we can reach people with our meetings and our plans and our agendas. So we're using social media. That's going to extend our reach, you know. And one of the things I've also, like, we want young people, and I must admit they're very important because it's the future. But at the same time, we can't discount us old geezers. Us old geezers. Like one man told me, he said, I would love to, because this gives me a reason for living.
That's right.
I'm just sitting here to die, and we're going to give them a reason to live, to get back in the battle. Many of us got here because of affirmative action. It was the battle that brought us to who we are, to schools, to jobs, to careers. And those are over. Like Nick asked today, when people ask me to retire, what am I going to do? Trump is giving us a reason for living. Let's fight. Let's join it.
Anybody else?
Right here, right here.
Well, it's the other city, so when they're talking about ICE, I used to see them connected with either the mayor or the governor. And it seems like connecting with the church may be one way, but figuring out a way to connect with the mayor and governor might make it a lot more effective and impactful. But I'm going back to the boycott. Keep it simple. Keep it simple and effective.
Whoever wins for mayor, before they even take office, we can connect with them. We have contacts here. So I don't think that'll be a big deal.
Whoever wins for mayor, this issue is going to be front and center. Because I'm certain that they're going to have to sit and plan what happens if the president tries to send the National Guard into my city. And so whoever wins has to, if you have a brain in your head, you are working through that contingency. You better, because it could happen.
I think we need to meet with not only the police officers, with the FBI, with our prosecutor office, as well as some of our police overseers, which we pay taxes for. Another thing, what I think might work if we stop paying taxes and giving it to the orange face man and his crew. I don't know if that's possible, but that's what they're trying to take, all the funds everywhere, out of our tax dollars and misusing it. I know it's huge, but that's an idea.
They're not interested in you not paying taxes unless you're a billionaire. If you were a billionaire, you wouldn't have to pay taxes.
Correct.
But because you're not a billionaire, they need your tax money.
That's serious. Mr.
Yeah, I'd like to just back up a little bit and kind of remind us what we're seeing out there and what's coming down the road. We're talking about acceleration of an authoritarian individual who has embraced the whole of government and aimed it at communities. So our meetings with prosecutors, with council members and all that stuff, when the stuff hit the fan, it's not going to mean a hill of beans. Because they're going to roll right over us. That's what authoritarian governments do. I happen to believe really the only force that we have to push back at that are masses of number of people in the streets. It's the mobilization is, I think, the key thing. And I think to maximize our efforts relative to mobilization, we should really look out around us and see what other people are doing. Not necessarily be in a situation where we're saying, we will start X. We need to figure out who's doing what.
Safety in numbers.
Yeah, and get safety in numbers, because at some point, if ICE rolls in here, and they have been in the community already, okay? They rolled in here, right? When they've been in, they've been around for years, for that matter. What they were doing in Southwest Detroit for years is just an example of that. They had children in Southwest Detroit, parents who were afraid to send their children to school because of ICE actually attacking and going into some of the schools and arresting parents when they pick up kids. All of that kind of stuff's happening. My point is real simple. I think we should figure out, if we're in the context of the church, what are the layers of activism in the church, and then figure out what they're doing best, and us join that effort and add to the numbers. And the best sign for us to understand, in my opinion, where we want to look again to something further, is to figure out how many people we have in this church and then how many people in the church participate in this. Because, with all due respect, everybody, there's what, 25, 50 of us, but the church is much bigger than that. And until we get to the point that we had like 90% of the church rolling with us, we have a certain obligation to our fellow members, to get them seriously involved, and then join with other people who have other things that are going on. Because to start things from ground level requires a certain level of administration, and communications, and all that stuff that we just don't. If we do all that, we don't get to the streets. And I think it's the massive numbers to put them in the streets as the one that's going to protect us.
So, Greg, are you proposing immediately taking it to the streets, as the Doobie Brothers would say? Are you saying we gather our forces and maybe meet with the women's committee and the men's committee and different members of the committees in the church? Get everyone here together and then approach others and then move?
There's safety in numbers, and there's safety in allies. The thing that will make this effort work is allies. It will be, like yesterday, the more people marching to the same tune, the more protection there is for us, for democracy, for the things we hold dear. But it's the numbers. And it's the allies. It's all of that. It's everything he said.
If I were to operationalize it, because you asked what would I do? If I were to operationalize it, the first thing I would do is, and Linda had mentioned this in a previous meeting, that there was another, a church group that's commiserate with the faith, that has been doing certain types of things. I don't think you call it a regional. Okay, but you had mentioned one before.
The Justice and Witnesses, the national.
Okay, but
and then you have the DMA, which I think is what you're asking.
okay. Well, then what I would do is, first of all, invite them to the church, invite them to a meeting, and have them explain to us what are they doing. You know, so we can kind of evaluate it and determine where we can step in. Okay, right? And
DMA is talking. That's what they're doing.
Well, let's find out what they're talking about. Right. You know,
I attend their meetings. I've attended a couple of them. Yeah, we can get them here.
Yeah,
I'm sure we can
yeah.
get them here.
And then because the at some point there are going to be any number of mobilizations that are going to come up. I mean, this is not the end of the mobilization. Yesterday was not the end of that. And I do think we have a specific responsibility, and this will be my next outreach, is to African American clergy and congregations, specifically with the view to get the mobilization of black folks at a higher level on these issues. I have the same comment, Jerome, that you had mentioned before, when I've gone to some of these things. Yesterday was a little better, but you know, but we ain't out there in the numbers that we need to be out there, given what we know the history is, okay, right? And given our experience, because what we're really trying to do is remind even old people like us of what it was like when we were younger and what things we went through and so forth. And if those things motivated us then, they can motivate us again, as well as they can motivate young people, okay? So I would think, I don't know if there is a process going on with African American churches in Detroit to try and pull them together. You know, we should, and then maybe insist on, for example, one Sunday a month, where the entirety of the activity in that church, and things ranging from the sermon down to any kind of activist work that might associate with, be devoted to this issue. I mean, we have to really focus. Just as Trump is bringing the whole of government, we need to bring the whole of church to this kind of thing. And in fact, we really need to bring the whole of community to it. But if church is a vital part of the community, we should do that. And there are a number of social activist groups that have been around town and doing things for years. We need to, in some ways, we're alien from them.
Yeah.
Right. You know, so we need to find out who they are, get involved in them, figure out how we can strengthen. Because sometimes, as opposed to building a large number here, may not be the best thing to do. Is maybe to turn around and help other people build their numbers. Right. And you know, I mean, there are a lot of things, but that would be how I would implement those three things.
Well, I'll just say quickly, you know I like the boycott, but I don't think you know. I agree 300% with Grant. I don't think you know his history. He's done this for decades and decades. It makes sense. It's efficient and it's pointed, it's directed, it's messaged, and it's will be coordinated with others doing the same thing that are doing it well. That's what he's saying. And so I think he's right, rather than doing our own little thing. And where are we going to launch out and get all these people to show up? I mean, we don't have a lot of members here. I mean, it sounds good, but
I agree with that. Tapping in others. I don't think we're quite.
You have a secretary.
I don't think we're quite ready to do that. We need to get organized here, and we need to get our own act together a little bit. We haven't talked to the various groups in the church yet.
Yes.
We've had a couple meetings. If we can get our own stuff together, then we'll be a more powerful ally. And I think the 37 organizations, what are DMA or that's one we can tap into fairly easily.
I was thinking on the basis of selecting one or three items that are profound in our efforts to go forward in the message that we're trying to send out. If we focus in on at least three of them, give credibility to the understanding that other people would be interested in that one first effort as a group, and then introduce a second one as the years or the months go by. Each time it goes, people will know that that particular one will be significant the first time, the second one will be even more significant, and the third one will be massive. That's what I would think.
I just had sorry for being late. Did we mention social media? I was put it on the church, so to get, and then
But not extensively the way.
You got somebody to help? That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, that's what
we want. We want somebody, they can come in, they can do their thing.
Cat Park and college students, I'll ask.
Please.
Oh, good. Education is key.
I know you got some young people out here who would love the opportunity to do this. We just gotta let them know we need.
You said that was your first point, didn't you?
Well, yeah, so then the other thing was, is there gonna be a print, like are we signing a petition, are we all signing, like when we bring all the church groups together? We can all sign?
It'll be probably organized to that.
And you see 2, 3, 4 of the signatures, that's impactful as well. And then also I was thinking about as we come together, because I know you said we not being organized. I mean, I thought about, you remember during the pandemic when Obama was here, and I mean, the streets were flooded at Wayne State, and you couldn't even get a close view. But you know, that's we have to figure out a way to get everyone in one place. Do we know like some of our young people, like Big Sean, he's still in the area. Like if he was on board, wherever he is, you're gonna get the young people, you're gonna galvanize people. So it's kind of like because they won't come out. I'm just gonna tell you. I mean, I could be too young. I'm 56. I still teach. I still in school. So these young people, they don't see the sense of urgency, which is very scary. Sometimes I talk to my own children, 21 and 24. I'm like, they see it, but they don't. So
they don't see it yet.
Okay.
Because can I make a point?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Right now, not just in America, but all over the world, young people are rioting. They are protesting. And their issue is not the same ones that we heard yesterday at this rally. Their issue is economic.
Right.
Because they cannot afford their lives. And the young people that you're talking about have the same problem. Because what has happened in America is all the money has floated up to the top. There's no longer a middle class. It doesn't exist. All the money is up to the top decile. And what that has done is impoverished the young people. They have all of this college debt. People have debt. And so their issue is there, but here in America we haven't tapped it. What you don't know is that there are riots right now in Nairobi. And the riots are being conducted in Nairobi by young people. Because the IMF went to the politicians and said, we want you to have an austerity program so that we can restructure your national debt. And they said, okay, we'll do that. And they did it, and the young people said, oh no, you're not. Because that's going to cost us. And we already can't afford our lives. So they have riots going on right now in Nairobi, Kenya. and it's not the only place.
No, it's not. Nepal, Indonesia, and
It's
there's
happening
another
all
one
over the
that's
world.
involved.
Let's hear from Robert. He hasn't said anything.
One thing I think we, can you hear me?
Yes.
One thing I think we need to look at is why is Trump being successful or almost successful in what he's doing? He and his cabinet are globalists. And some of the things that we're talking about now, the riots and all that, we have to let folks know what's going on and put it on TikTok. I tell you what, you want some young folks? Put something on TikTok. Put it a certain way on TikTok, then all of a sudden you get their attention.
Yeah.
And like we said, these people at this point, they don't see it. They kind of see it, but they don't see it. We don't need them to get it. We don't need them to be in the I gotta feel it generation. We need them to be in the I see it generation, I'm gonna do something generation. So we have to get out here, and some of the things that we're saying are great, but we're gonna have to get out here ahead. We can't wait a year or two.
No.
We got to do this now.
Number one. That's the number one effort right there. Only two more.
So, this is off the ice thing, I ain't saying that, but just kind of telling on Tanya brought up about adopting the school. You know, I'll go around talking to principals and I tell them, you know, and superintendents that, you know, you all push the college tours to high school students, which is too late. You should do college tours with middle school students. The same thing with this. You know, you do 8th and 9th grade students and embrace them and push them, you know, help mold them into, because they're coming in 4 years to vote, 4 years to make policy and whatnot. If we adopt the school and bring young people of that age into the discussion, then it's a long-term process. It doesn't get a lot of coverage. It wouldn't get a lot of, you know, they're doing a good thing. We wouldn't get a lot of newspaper work on anything, but it would be very effective. It would be very impactful because you would have younger people shaping minds, and we won't have 31-year-olds spreading misinformation and disinformation and becoming heroes because they got killed. You know what I mean? Because they got shot at the college campus. Because that generation were young kids back in 2008, 2009, when Barack Obama was elected. And now they're, you know, sending up messages. So let's do the same thing.
Right.
I just want to piggyback on that. So one of the reasons that I suggest getting into a school system, you know, you asked the question, how is it that Trump is being successful?
Well, I know
Trump
that,
and
but they need
hang
to.
on. Trump and the Republicans have been working on this for more than 50 years. Hard.
That's right.
Right. So
That's right.
So being in the schools and getting kids young and working on them, educating them, right, teaching them, so that they can understand and know how to critically think and view things is important. And you're right, we may not see the results of that today, but we will definitely see that tomorrow. We need that young generation to be educated. And we also need to be able to combat this on multiple fronts, right? So the idea of seeing what other folks are doing and getting where we fit in, I think is really key, because right now we're being assaulted at every turn, everything, women's rights, healthcare rights, right, voting rights, everything. Every time we wake up in the morning, he's attacking something else.
And it's not subtle. It's just blatant. It's bold.
Yeah, I just want to remind you before I hand this picture up, not so much everybody in this group, but for those people we're streaming this too, this is our history, this is our legacy. This is what we've all been for the last 60 years, a benefactor of. It's now our turn to pick up the mantle, and we must continue to fight. This is just the beginning, this is not a war, a little skirmish, this is a long-term. We need your commitment, come join us.
But I would like to say my family and I and Nick's family were at that party.
We'll get the next one.
You know, listening,
Yeah,
if I may, you know, listening to all the comments, you know, that have been made, you know, towards our focus point, which is to consolidate, you know, our, you know, collective, you know, reflection on how best we can be engaged in mitigating all these, problems that have been impacted upon our community by, this current, government. And I'm of the opinion that all these various, commentaries that are already expressed should be, consolidated into PowerPoint, on a written document, so that we will, communicate all of these points, on a platform to those that we want to target to, communicate to, so that we solicit, more engagement in our, endeavor.
I agree totally, and in fact, that's exactly what I was thinking. I'm so impressed by the people here and the ideas here. I don't think we've had a bad idea yet. I think everything's been good. I would like to do all of it. I would like to do all of it at once. But these few people here, we probably have more ideas than we have people, and some of these things might take dozens or hundreds or preferably thousands of people to accomplish well. But I think one thing we can do is put it in writing. Maybe eventually we do get a platform. I'll do a writing of this meeting with the various ideas, and I think we can do things at different levels. We can start off, we can have folks who call our congressman. We might do something with a big endeavor, like in an auditorium where we invite all the churches or whatever, and we have a program, something big like that. We can try approaching the youth. I thought of Big Sean. Because we got to get some way to interest the youth. The folks here probably can't do it. We've got to see who the youth leaders in the city are, approach some of them, and get them maybe to join with us so that we can interest some of these folks and bring them in, and we can educate each other. They can educate us, and we can educate them. Is he still alive?
He just passed. We like Frankie Beverly.
And then we need to know what's out there as far as the community groups who are like-minded and start connecting with them. So all these ideas have merit. We can't do all of them. We can get started on some of them. I like the idea of ICE, and that might be something where we are in more of a leadership position, but I don't know. There might be some group well down the road already planning to address this ICE issue. So we just don't know that. We've got to educate ourselves. So all I can commit to right now is getting our ideas in writing down, and I will circulate that to everyone, but let's keep talking.
So, I want to go back to what I thought I heard you and Greg say, and that is we should organize the church first. Because it is the truth that if we're going out into community representing Plymouth Church and 75% of the members don't know what we're doing, that creates tension. So I do agree. We should begin with organizing the church. What does that look like? I'm the kind of person, I need a little bit more structure. I need for us as a group to make some decisions, since we were the ones who volunteered, so that gives us a certain amount of power and influence, to set some rules of engagement. Like, for example, I typically don't participate in meetings where you're streamed. No one asks permission. Things are being said. I don't know if people want what was said here promoted. So suggesting there should be a few people who work on communications and come back to the group with recommendations. Someone says, okay, Jerome has already reached out to the DMA.
What does that look like? Someone who is saying, here's what other community groups in our community are working on. I just need a little bit more structure, because with structure comes discipline, and with structure comes power. There are lots of things that people mention here that maybe some of us know about, some of us don't. You know, where's the learning that happens, because we are in some pretty critical and dangerous times. So those are the things that I'm ready to step into some committee action.
Right.
Just saying, need a little bit more structure, a little bit more organizing of us here first, then moving to organize and connect with our fellow church.
Reverend Hood?
Mr. Moderator, I just want to follow up on what Linda Campbell was just saying. I'm sorry I couldn't be here for the whole meeting. I've been walking through the lower level with the Board of Christian Education. But as you and I, as the moderator and I have been talking about this, and I shared with him my feeling, which is that we're living in really wild times. These are crazy times. And the church can play a very important role in it. But it really, for us to be really effective, we need to prioritize where we want to start.
Right.
And I think what we've done up to this point is fine. You know, to give people a mouthpiece, an opportunity to verbalize their feelings. But at some point, if we want to take it to the next level, we really need to prioritize the issues so that we're not scattergun. If we're scattergun and try to talk about, not just talk about, but try to do something on every issue, I think we'll be less effective. So, for example, you've got the bigger issue of challenges to the Constitution. You have issues regarding, you know, the Voting Rights Act right now, you know, which is probably going before the Supreme Court in this next session. You've got myriad issues. You've got, you know, the constitutional issues regarding citizenship, ICE raids, and I just think if the church is going to be involved, we really have to narrow down the focus. Now that doesn't mean that when we have a meeting like this, that we can have also venting sessions if we want to do that. But you know, there's venting and then there's action. And if we want to go to the next level, we really need to focus, narrow the focus. So that's the only point. You know, I said that from the very first time I talked with Jerome Watson about this, that I would prefer that we narrow the focus. One of the things, you may have seen it in the outline that I had of the sermon in the bulletin. I forgot to say it. I hate to admit that, but sometimes I forget what I want to say in the sermon.
Getting old.
Yeah, but one of the points was about the civil rights movement, and it relates to what we're talking about today, and that one of the challenges in social action today that is different than the kind of action that Martin Luther King engaged SCLC in, you know, going back to 1956 with the Montgomery bus boycott, is that the issues in 1956 were just so stark. I mean, you know, the right to vote, the right to, you know, public education, right to public access to accommodations, public accommodations. Those were very clear, cut and dried issues. The issues today, in my opinion, are more obtuse. I mean, they're there, but they're more obtuse. And which means that if we are going to be effective, we have to determine where we want to start with them. And, you know, I just zoomed right past that in the sermon today. But the point that I was trying to make, or wanted to make, had I made it in the sermon, was the counterintuitive approach of Martin Luther King. You know, that, and his voice during the civil rights movement was not the only other voice. It was not the only voice. There were many other voices. It's just that his voice won out. But people like Roy Ennis, Stokely Carmichael, H. Rap Brown, and many others who are less well known, they were very competitive for the forum that Martin Luther King eventually, you know, he triumphed over it. But his approach, as opposed to the approach of the Republic of New Africa, where's Damu? Damu was part of the Republic of New Africa. You know, the approach of Dr. King, as opposed to the Republic of New Africa, H. Rap Brown, you know, Stokely Carmichael, Malcolm X, yeah, thank you.
NAACP.
His approach was counterintuitive. You know, the voices that Dr. King triumphed over were voices that were saying, you know, meet violence with violence.
Bobby Seale.
What'd you say?
Bobby Seale.
The Panthers. You know, meet violence with violence. And Dr. King said, no, it's non-violence or non-existence. And his argument won out. But it was nip and tuck. For many years, you know, it was not a slam dunk in the beginning. And to me, the lesson from that is he was counterintuitive when he said nonviolence. And if the church, I mean, you know, the church can get involved on any level, but in my opinion, if we're going to be effective, we really have to prioritize what the issue is that we want to address, and then to really give some serious thought to how do we want to address it. And then if we can answer those two questions, then the next part of that second question is, then how do we broaden the tent? You know, to bring in other people. But if we can't narrow the focus, we're not going to be very, from my opinion, we're not going to be very effective in bringing in other people.
That's correct.
And I pledged with our moderator, Attorney Watson, I said, look, I'm here with you, you know, to be a part of it, but I don't want to waste our time. To me, you know, time is too precious to do that. And, you know, I've been a part of the '63 March in Detroit. I was a part of the uprising in Boston in the spring of '70 with SDS, the Weathermen. I mean, they were burning buildings at Boston University when I was there. And, you know, I did not throw any Molotov cocktails. But I know a person, one of my classmates that got burned up doing that. And so my attitude is nothing to play with. And it's worth more than a lot of talk. So I'm glad that we're doing this. And if we don't progress from just you know, having the verbal conversations, I mean, that's fine. And I'm with you on that. But I go back to my starting point. I encourage this committee to think from the very beginning about what do we prioritize the issues. So, Mr. Chair, thank you for giving me an opportunity to say that.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Well received.
Just have one quick thing.
Right?
Yeah, I think that Reverend remarks are really instructive to us. I think one of the things that we ought to probably discipline ourselves a little bit. We went around the room and we basically identified probably hundreds of individual things that we were upset about, that we think are injurious to us and so forth, okay? What we didn't say is that the thing that embodies all of that is just our our task is simply to resist all of it. We don't have to talk about the individual this and what's happening this over here and over there. It's a question of resistance. And I think